talking about musical storytelling and how music can inspire memories and things. And Barbara, you were talking about a song that elicited memories of a beach house in Trinidad. Can you
Yes.
tell us more about that?
It's just country and western music, and in particular, I used to like Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton, Loretta Lynn, Patsy Cline. Of course, a lot of you weren't born yet. You probably laugh at my choice. But it kind of used to put me in a different mindset, and it used to make me happy. I used to feel happy and going about my chores, whatever I had to do, before we could all hit the beach. We had to prepare the meal and had to put the shopping away and things like that. And that was happy memories. Yeah.
So I have a song from the Caribbean, which I inherited from my parents. So if I have to think about a song that my parents used to like and that I still like,
Yeah.
it's the band is Boney M. And the song is Brown Girl in the Ring.
Brown Girl in the Ring,
And I
yes.
think as a child, there's a very nursery rhyme element. Brown Girl in the Ring. I mean, it's a very child-friendly song to remember.
Yeah.
And so, Boney M, and again, my parents were Sri Lankan, South Asian immigrants in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And it just seemed that Boney M seemed to resonate a lot with South Asian immigrants in the 70s. And I think it's maybe, and again, my parents are from Sri Lanka. It's a kind of island mentality. You've got the kind of calypso rhythms in it. So I think there was a lot to identify with when listening to Boney M. And I've loved Boney M since. And that Brown Girl in the Ring and a lot of Boney M songs have actually been used in the 90s in kind of more common
It's
tracks.
even used now because nearly every dance or party you go to, they play it, don't they? Yeah.
Well, I remember that song, but I remember it from Rochdale, where I lived. So again, born in India, came over when I was 4 with my family, immigrated, and we moved around with Dad's jobs from the north. You know, Dad started in Scotland before we came over in the northeast and moved down, and we were in Rochdale for a while. And I particularly remember the summer that song came out, and I remember going on a day trip to a nearby lake, and it's now what I have in my mind as an English summer day. There's a park, there's a lake, there are ice cream vans, and it was just a new experience for me, very different to what I'd been done. But I remember that song being played, and I remember that song, Brown Girl in the Ring, being part of that summer. And Boney M are great, and I got to see that, a version of them. I think there may have been one original member left, very randomly in a nightclub in Bolton when I was a medical student.
Oh my!
Years later, it was just bizarre. Doing the same songs, got the same moves, same hair, brilliant.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. It's still very popular up to this day.
That's true.
Brown Girl.
So you were talking about country music, and if I have to think about a category of duets, and kind of a duet between a man and a woman, I think one of the standout collaborations for me is actually Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton singing "Islands in the Stream." But then again, even that song has kind of transcended into when I was a teenager, because the riff for Islands of the Stream was used in a 90s R&B track, Ghetto Superstar.
Yeah.
And the same kind of melody was used, and again, that familiarity from your childhood, hearing it again when you're a teenager, I just think it's really quite fun. I think a lot of R&B artists have used songs from the 60s, 70s, and in tracks. Diana Ross, I think, is a really good example if you think about it.
She is, yeah.
A lot of stuff. I'm Coming Out has been used in a lot of R&B tracks. So yeah, I think Diana Ross is another good example.
What I remember as well is 1968 when I came over to the UK. Hey Jude was on the chart for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. I remember every Sunday, when they had Top of the Pops, and they used to play that, and that brought back some good memories as well. Yeah. So
another Caribbean girl, you just reminded me that a song that was in the charts for weeks and weeks and weeks was around 2004, 2005 when I was doing my pediatric training in Sheffield. It was one of the wettest summers on record.
Really?
And a girl from Barbados, Rihanna, in the charts. with the song Umbrella.
Umbrella,
And
yes.
it just because it was just raining all the time, the radio station was
Yeah.
just playing it and
Yeah.
playing it and playing
Yeah.
it. And so again, I just that song reminds me of, funny enough, of rainy Sheffield.
Ah,
And I remember there's a rap bit where Jay-Z goes, before she starts singing, goes, "Little Miss Sunshine, where you at? Rihanna, where you at?"
yeah.
So Little Miss Sunshine from the Caribbean singing about rain, in
Yeah.
grey and miserable Sheffield in summer. You're like,
Yeah.
Britain and its weather. So Bimal, what about songs any songs that you've inherited or from your parents?
So, yeah, so an Indian song's one that I've inherited from my parents, and it's by someone called Mohammed Rafi, and it's from a movie, as a lot of old Indian songs are. But the reason I remember it is that used to be my weekends. It used to be my Sunday morning. So, Mum was at home for us when we were growing up. Dad was often out at work and working late, and so it's the time that I remember. The weekends, Sundays was the time that I would see them together, and I would wake up late and I would hear Indian songs coming from the stereo downstairs, and it's pretty much the only time that we heard music in the house, except a bit later on when you got your Walkman or had a little clock radio and you'd listen to it, but there would be this music and there'd always be this song, and I just loved it. Didn't understand the words fully, loved the melody of it, loved the there were little string instruments in it and little breakouts and stuff like that. So it just always takes me back. And it was over a couple of houses that we lived in, but it will always take me back to those periods, and what always seemed to be a harmonious time in the house, peaceful time in the house, and so it just makes me think of that.
You also mentioned another song that when you hear it, you know that everything's going to be all right.
Yes, and it is Dexy's Midnight Run and Come On Eileen, and for years again, a song that was in the charts when I was young, and it's an anchor, it's a nexus to a moment in time, a period in my life where life was good and life was happy, no worries, young child, and I've always liked the song. Never ever owned a copy of it, and I still don't. Yes, you can always stream it, but I still don't own a copy of it. And it just always seemed to be, whenever I was at low moments in my life, or things weren't going how I'd want to be, that this song would just pop up, and I always associated it with things then getting better and improving. And so it used to sustain me. You just hear it. It was weird because, being in Manchester in the 90s at university, it would just randomly come on somewhere, and you go, oh, I see, things are going to be alright, things are going to be okay, and I still feel that way about the song now.
So it's interesting you said about there's a song that you didn't even know the lyrics to, but still you get this comforting feeling from. So interesting that all three of us are of South Asian heritage, but with different. So you grew up South Asian heritage, born in India, South Asian heritage, born in the Caribbean, in Trinidad, South Asian heritage, born in East Asia, and yet we do have common link of that South Asian heritage. And so if I think about a song that in a language that I don't understand, actually it's a Hindi song. So there is Sri Lanka is a small island, and we have a film industry, but we cannot compete with the vastness of the Indian of India and the number of films they produce. And so a song that I really like from a Bollywood film is Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, and it's from a film which is a love story about, and the meaning is something is happening.
Yeah.
And it's a love story about childhood sweethearts who are separated and then kind of get back together, connecting.
Which is every Indian movie.
Every Indian movie. And but yeah, I just love the music in it, and even though I didn't understand the words at the time, it was just a sweet memory. It reminds you of being with my cousins in Sri Lanka when we used to watch these films. It was almost like a family event to kind of like watch these things whenever they screened on TV. So I always think about songs in other languages, even though you don't understand it, it can still bring back a memory.
I have always wanted to see an Indian movie.
Oh.
And it was a lot in Trinidad at the time. Well, even now. But I've never had the opportunity to go and see one. And some high school friends of mine who I still keep in touch with to this day keep promising me to take me to see an Indian movie. Because I love the dancing, I love the costumes and things. I've only ever seen like a little clip, you know, but I've never seen an Indian movie.
Well, we're set then, because we have a movie that we're going to watch. It's my favourite Hindi movie. It's a classic. It's called Sholay, and there's a particular scene that I talk about that I've told Lalit about that he just really wants to watch when we're going to sit down. And so we'll sit down. There'll be you and me and Lalit. There'll be our Maltese friend Shirley.
She wants to watch.
Honestly, I've always, you know, and the last time I went to Trinidad, my friend took me. And then when we got to the movies, they'd changed the movie, so I didn't get to see the Indian movie. There was something else on, yeah. Yeah, and she still says, I owe you one, you know.
You'll love this one. And I talked about one of the songs in there that is one of my favourite again. It's the comical song at the start of the movie. It's a comical song, and it very much describes a friendship between two people.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, the same song is sung in a very different way, and it has a very different meaning. The words are changed ever so slightly. I won't, no spoilers, but it's in. I love that. I love the way that they do that in the movie, and it's just really interesting how pretty much the same song at a different time, at a different place, can have such a different meaning.
Well, it's true. So again, thinking about Bollywood, there is a Indian film actress called Aishwarya Rai who was a former Miss World, and again in the 90s, I remember my. There was when she was Miss World, she visited Sri Lanka, and there was a photo shoot of her at the beach in swimwear, and the track that they played when they promoted it was Ace of Base, All That She Wants, from the 90s, and I have an association of that song with a beach, with a beauty queen in Sri Lanka, because of that association, and again, it's all about lyric. I mean, the lyric is, she leads a lonely life. What is it? It's a time to get a tan. You know, on the beach. She's on the beach and having fun. You know, so it's an appropriate song for the photo shoot. And but I just thought it was really funny. And I also remember a wisecrack friend of mine criticizing the lyrics of that song, because the lyrics say, all that she wants is another baby. She's gone tomorrow, as in more like a relationship. And he was like, this song is gonna cause a population boom.
There'll be children all over the world knocking on doors saying,
Papa, it's me. There are people who have genuine fears about this type of thing, about this undiscovered paternity. The fear is real. The fear is real. But I don't know, Barbara, is there another category kind of to think about are songs that remind you of your teenage years? Now, you alluded to the Beatles when you were a late teenager, but what about when you were an early teenager in Trinidad? Any particular songs that come to mind from your teenage years?
Not particularly. I just love listening to country and western all the time. Put the radio on. There was a certain station, and then I floated away in my own world.
But country music doesn't it do that? I have a lot of respect for country music.
Love it. I just love it.
But country music often glorifies the olden days, the times, the things that you used to have.
Story.
Yeah, they tell a story of how the good times used to be.
Yeah.
So as a senior citizen, do you have similar feelings of the good old days, of how things used to be?
Yes.
The golden age of nursing, I don't know, what do you feel?
The golden age of nursing, I could tell you a lot about that, but it's all changed now.